This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social, and I'm delighted to be joined by Matchroom Boxing CEO Frank Smith. Frank, how are you?
Unbelievable, mate. It's a wonderful day. How are you?
I'm all good, thanks. Why are you feeling unbelievable?
Just happy. You've got to be happy. It's not sunny, but it's a nice day. We're in London. We're here. We're alive. It's fun.
I was going to say, I was speaking to you previously, just before the interview started. The first time I've seen you with your head shaved. What's brought this decision?
I just wanted a drastic change, to be honest. I've had enough of being compared to Eddie, so I thought, I'll go somewhere completely different. He doesn't look anything like me anymore, so now we can't be compared.
I was going to say, you're not wearing a roll neck either.
No, I've gone for the t-shirt casual look. I'm trying to create my own line.
Well, instead of looking like Eddie, you look a little like Johnny Garton now.
Do I?
Yeah.
I was going more Tom Hardy, but no worries. Nothing against Johnny Garton, but no one said that yet, so thanks for the suggestion.
It's alright, that's all the comments are going to say. Is that Johnny Garton?
It's not Johnny Garton. Sorry.
Well, obviously we're down here today, Frank, for the open workout for next weekend's show. Just talk to me about the decision first and foremost to put the workout on a week earlier. We did something similar with Liverpool where it's 2 weeks before the fight night. Is this something that we can expect to see a bit more often now?
I think we're just trying to do some more media stuff, not so set. I think everything at the minute is so, everyone's set in their ways with what they do. What difference does it make doing a workout a week earlier? We can carry on pushing the show rather than everything being focused on fight week. Also take some pressure off the fighters as well. You'll probably get a bit more out of them today than you would doing it a couple of days before the weigh-in. So, we're just trying different things and keep it going. Lots of media stuff going on. And do you like it? Are you happy with it?
I can't complain, it's easy enough for me, but I'm happy with it.
In London. It means you get a Friday afternoon in London. So
what's wrong with Birmingham?
Nothing, but it gives you a change.
Now let's obviously just work through the card a little bit. We'll start off with the top. Who's headlining? Is it Dave or is it Derek?
You'll see early next week. We'll announce something on that. Everyone's firing up for Papi de Dave Allen to headline, aren't they? So, but next week we'll announce the full running order.
That seems to be
your question.
That seems to be the general gist of things when you look over social media. A lot of people do want to see Dave headline. I know it's down to you guys, but are you guys taking that into consideration as to what everybody's saying, or are you guys have you already got an idea as to who's doing it, regardless of what's being said over social media?
No, there's a lot of things that go into it. We work closely with our broadcast partner Sky, obviously, and we want to deliver what the fans want. So we'll work with them. We'll announce something next week, and it's a joint decision between all the parties as to what's decided. So next week. It gives you something to think about over the weekend.
I've got a very boring weekend if that's all I've got to think about.
Exactly. Some people may just have nothing to think about, so there you go.
Let's talk about that fight then. Obviously Dave going in with Lucas Browne. What made you guys have that decision to put Dave in with Lucas at this stage of his career?
I think it's the right fight for Dave. He's built up his profile. He's a huge name now, as we can all see, and it then pushes them on for bigger fights in the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division is fight. There's a lot of talent out there now. We've recently just signed Michael Hunter, Filip Hrgovic as well, and there's a lot of big fights. You saw David Price the other week and get a win in interesting circumstances, but you saw him back out, and as I say, there's a lot of big fights out there for these guys. So if Dave can get the win, I believe it's massive for him, and there's a busy rest of the year and big nights for him.
I don't want to deviate away from Dave for too long, but just whilst you mentioned the likes of Michael Hunter, Filip Hrgovic, and obviously David Price, etc., there was rumours for this card you was looking to do this massive heavyweight show. I know it hasn't planned out as that. Is that something down the line that you guys would like to do with the likes of those guys who we've just mentioned?
Yeah, I think originally, obviously, this was supposed to be a Dillian Whyte slot with a pay-per-view slot, so we were going to do a few more heavyweight fights. But with the WBC decision for Dillian Whyte, it means we had to delay that show a little bit. So that changed the dynamic of the show a little bit. But the heavyweights is definitely something we're very invested in. We've got Anthony Joshua, heavyweight number one, 3 of the belts, soon to be all of the belts. You've got Alexander Usyk who's moving up, Dillian Whyte. All these younger guys we're signing as well. So we're heavily invested in the heavyweight division. I'm sure you'll see something along those lines soon.
Now, just to go back to Dave as well, obviously going in with Lucas Browne, who won a close decision victory against Kamil Sokolowski recently. A lot of people had Kamil winning that fight. What were your thoughts? Did you watch it? Have you seen it?
I watched parts of it. Obviously, Lucas Browne, that was a comeback fight for him. Probably, maybe wasn't as focused for that fight. And I thought he was a tough opponent. Like, bearing in mind he had this fight, it wasn't like an easy knockover job. It was never going to be. Everyone thought that. So, you know, I think you can't take. I personally don't think you can take too much from that fight. I think it's a completely different motivation for him. This fight, you know, a 12-round fight against Dave Allen, it's completely different. So I wouldn't take too much from it.
That's something I was going to ask. You know, will people look at that fight and think, Dave Allen, I know he's taken this camp very serious, probably in the best shape of his life from what we've seen. But could a Dave Allen who fought the likes of Bracamonte knock over the Lucas Browne who fought Kamil Sokolowski if people were to read into it?
I think Lucas Browne's a bloody tough guy. You know, you look at the fight with Dillian Whyte. I know it ended in a stoppage, but he's a tough man. Dillian Whyte's a huge puncher. But as you say, Dave Allen's trained very hard for this. I think you'll see him in the best condition we've ever seen him. So who knows? Maybe he could go out there and knock him out in the first round. And then it'll become even more of a superstar. And then it will be Papi de la pay-per-view headline.
Dave could be AJ's next fight.
Who knows? Down the line, Dave could go and get 5-6 wins, and he could be mandatory for one of the belts.
It's an exclusive there for Boxing Social. Headlining at Wembley as well.
Anything is possible in this boxing game.
We'll soon see about that. Obviously, seems to have joined up with Darren Barker. I don't know whether it's official or not, but that seems to be from what we've seen over social media. What are your thoughts on that link-up?
Yeah, I've seen they've been training for 4 or 5 weeks now. I think it's good. You know, Darren's been there, done it at the highest level, and he loves the sport. He's massively into the. I know that sounds funny, but some boxers aren't necessarily huge boxing fans. Like, they don't follow it, they don't know what's going. And I think he'd make a good trainer. You know, he's got his gyms. He does that side. He does a lot of personal training in his gyms, and I think he's really brought Dave along. And you'll see. I think you'll see a difference in him, especially in his fitness for the fight. And you can see it in his body already. He's got some abs. He came out with that the other day. So I think he's taken it very seriously. And I think Darren's very good for him. They have a good relationship, get on well. And hopefully you see the difference.
See, I do see Darren and Dave around a lot during fight week before this link-up, especially in Newcastle when I was covering the fight. You know, they spent a lot of time together, they've got on very well as friends. When you consider their personal relationship, do you ever feel that maybe if that could cloud any judgments in terms of their preparations, that because they're so close that they might have disagreements or they might not listen to certain things?
No, look, I think Darren, like I said, Darren's been around and done it all. So if he didn't want to, you know, he's got a lot going on. He does work for us. He's got his gyms that are doing really well. I think if he didn't want to do it, or he didn't take it seriously, he wouldn't be doing it. Do you understand? You know, like, I think there's a lot of people who need to train, who need to do. He doesn't have to. So I think that's a big difference for him. He's doing well. You know, he's not like he's doing it just to make some money. He's doing it because I think he actually enjoys it and wants to work with Dave. And I think he can see the ability Dave's got if he puts his mind to it.
Now, the other fight, which we're unsure as to who's headlining, as we've touched on earlier, Derek Chisora versus Sihad Gashi. Talk to us about that one.
Yeah, I think it's a good fight. Derek Chisora obviously coming off the back of his fight against Dillian Whyte, which was followed through from the first one. What a brilliant fight. And I think it's a good fight for him to get back out there. That showed that he's still at the top level. Although Derek's been around for a long time, he still is up there. Dillian Whyte, I think, is in the top 3-4 heavyweights in the world. And Derek Chisora matched him all the way along that. You know, ended with a stoppage from Dillian and a great fight. But I still think Derek's up there, and I still think he can get a win on the 20th of April. And there's some big fights out there. There's the likes of like Joseph Parker possibly, those sort of fights, and especially with him moving to Dave Coldwell, maybe that's helped him as well. You know, he may be learning, and we'll only see on the night. You know, it'd be interesting to see the improvements that have been made.
How much longer can you see Derek boxing for? I know he's been around the game for a long time now. He's coming towards the twilight years of his career, as it were. Coming towards the twilight years of his career, as it were. What are your thoughts in terms of how much longer Derek can continue his career?
Yeah, I think he's still got, as we just said, with that December 22nd fight against Dillian Whyte, he's still up there. He's still with the top fighters. So
We will be live on
can't
Sky
see
Sports in
him
the UK
finishing, quitting
and The
soon.
Zone
Because I
in the
think if he would have
US.
gone into
There
that
are
fight and
limited
shown nothing
tickets
and
available via
got stopped in the first round or
website.
not
So
won a
without
round,
further
it would have been
ado, let's
different. But he
introduce
didn't.
our
He went in there,
boxer
he
of the afternoon.
did his
He
job,
hails from Brixton,
and
London,
he
with a
boxed really well.
record of
Just
7-5-6
it ended in a
wins.
stoppage. But
It's John
that's the
Hardy
heavyweight division.
Jr.
You know, the heavyweight division, there's going to be stoppages. So, you know, it's I think he's still got a while left.
Yeah, we'll just pick that back up there, Frank. Obviously, the workout just started, so we had to shift. Go through the rest of the card. Josh Kelly going in with Ranowski. Talks about that one.
Yeah, Josh Kelly, I think it's a big year for Josh. You know, he's had some ups and downs. Recently, you know, he's had a few the December fight, he was supposed to fight Abanesian there, and obviously had to pull out very last minute on the day of the fight, which was a shame. But you know, it happens. It happens every now and then. So it'll be good to get him back out. I think it's a good fight for him to get back in the ring, and you know, I think he'll carry on showing everyone how good he is and how good he can be. And he's a big star, definitely now and for the future, to build into a huge position for himself within the Sky Sports roster and in the US as well.
Just talking about David Abanesian as well, he's recently knocked out Kerman Laharaga, the European champion. A surprising victory for many because of the statements Kerman has made recently. Is that a fight you guys still want, especially now he has that European EBU title bout?
Yeah, I think we'll see what happens. Josh will have this fight, and then we're looking at a fight very soon after for him as well. So I think we'll review it after his comeback this weekend.
And Conor Benn also returning for the first time since his hand injury in his victory over Cedric Paynaud. Excited to see how his year progresses this year. Any names yet as well for his opponent on Saturday?
Yeah, we'll release details. We've had an opponent, we've just been waiting to release it, and I'm looking forward to getting him back in the ring. I think he's grown up a lot. He's had a long time out of the ring, 10 months, but I do think with Conor, people forget he's 22 years old. He turned pro at 19, so he's got so many years of this. There's no need to rush him. It needs to be done the right way. You know, it was best with his injuries that took the time he took to recover and rest, because that's very important. So I think you'll see a good matured performance from him. You know, even during this time out, he's kept very fit, kept training, and it'll be exciting to have him back because he's a big name, and you know, some big fights for him down the road.
Now I just want to work through a few more questions because I know obviously the workout started, like I said. We're seeing a lot of the names being linked with fighting abroad at a British base, such as Callum Smith apparently going to fight on the AJ undercard.
Sorry, mate.
That's Coogan trying to steal our viewers. Yeah, we've seen the likes of Callum Smith, Nick. You said it, not me. We've seen Callum Smith linked with the AJ undercard, Conor Benn linked with it, Josh Kelly, Cal Yafai. With those guys being linked with America and fighting over there now, there's been a lot of people over social media who are British boxing fans who are becoming a little worried and concerned that the level of the shows over here are not going to be as good as what they will be over there, and we won't be able to watch those guys fight. Is that something that's been a concern of yours that you guys are maybe considering?
I think if you look at the last few fight night shows, including this that we've done, they're stacked cards. You go back to the 23rd of March, Charlie Edwards' world title defence, Joshua Buatsi, Lawrence Okoli, Lewis Ritson. The 30th of March Liverpool show, you had David Price in the heavyweight fight on there, Robbie Davis Jr. Against Joe Hughes, you had Liam Smith against Sam Egginton, you had Fowler Fitzgerald, which was a great fight. You know, so stacked cards, and the same here as well. You know, I think this for a Saturday fight night show is stacked full of talent. So I don't think there should be concern. You know, I think the difference is there's some big fights over in the US. There's a lot of money over in the US to be made. So it's about managing fighters' expectations. Some will go to the US, but I don't think that takes away from what we're doing here. I think we're still delivering here, and we'll carry on doing so because our UK business is just as important for us. It's taken us 6-7 years to grow this to where it is. So we're not going to get complacent. We're not giving up with the UK. We've got a long period left with that. We've got a long period left with Sky Sports, who are our long-term partners, and we've collectively built. I think we built the sport of boxing back up to where it is. So you know, it's very important for us to carry on building and growing in the UK.
And obviously tonight, even though we see Lomachenko versus Crolla, your thoughts on that one? A big ask of Anthony, but he seems up from it from everything that we've seen.
Yeah, I think, Crolla has been in some huge fights. He's been an underdog in a lot of fights. He's already been world champion, and I think he's at the stage of his career where he wants to take those biggest fights. You see, we were talking about it with Coogan, but on social media, people, rather than knock him down, why not just say, "Go on, son, it's a hard test, but go out there and do the business"? Because what do you get out of saying to him, what's he doing? Like, he's a boxer who's made his way into the mandatory position for that world title. He deserves to fight for it. That's what it means. So why shouldn't he take the fight? And that, I think that's the downfall of social media for you. But he'll go in there, he'll give it 100%. He's not looking at it going, he understands how good Lomachenko is, pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world. But these are the tests that these boxers want to go in for, and you've got to commend him. Rather than put him down, just say good luck, and everyone get behind him. Go out there, do the business, and whatever happens in there, he's done more than what 99.9% of the world could do. So, congrats. Go out there and do it, Crolla.
How much of a chance do you give Anthony?
I think you give him a chance. You have to give everyone a chance in every fight. It's a sport we're in. Upsets happen, but again, like I say, don't get me wrong. Very tough test, and in against pound for pound, probably one of the best fighters in the world. But it's the same. It's like Amir Khan next week. It's the same sort of thing. Why are you going to turn down these fights? The best, and you got, again, commend them rather than put them down. Just go. Do you know what? Good luck. Go out there and do the business. So it's the same there. You got to give them a chance in every fight. Obviously they're not favourite in that fight, but he believes he can go in there and he'll give it 100%. And that's all you can ask for.
If Anthony's victorious, how big of an upset would you say it would be in boxing history? Many have said that it would be as big as Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson. Got my words fuddled up there. Would you say it was as big as that?
I'd say it's up there with that type of win. Yeah, definitely 100%. And I think boxing now is in a huge place. And it's great that people recognise these fights that are taking place in the US and recognise the talent of Lomachenko as well. So I think it will go down as you say, one of the biggest upsets. So go out there and do the business. Fuck the haters, Crolla.
And very lastly, you just mentioned Conor Crawford as well. Excited for that one? What are your thoughts on it as we're only a week away now?
Yeah, very excited. Look, again, it's another one where people have said, why is he taking the fight? But Amir, he's been in there with the best time and time again. And he hasn't always got the results, but he's always shown a lot of heart. And he'll do the same against Crawford next Saturday. Again, it's pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world. So you can't underestimate the talent Crawford's got, but Amir will go in and give it everything. So, I think it's good times for boxing. It's good that people actually want to take these fights as well, because a lot of the time people don't want to take fights of fights like that. Just want an easy route. So, good luck to him. I'm going out there.
You're going out there?
Yeah, I'm out.
So who's over here?
Eddie.
Oh, we've had a little switch there. But finally, obviously we was all waiting to see whether the Kell Khan fight would happen. But obviously it hasn't now. Who is your plans? What is your plans for Kell, I should say? Have you got a name, or have you had any discussions with him?
Yeah, I think Kell will see very soon what happens. I still think later in the year the Khan fight is still a big fight, personally, myself. So maybe we can look to make that later in the year, depending on how Amir gets on in New York. But let's see. But I think Kell's still got a lot left to give, and he needs that big fight. So it's our job then to go and deliver it.
Well, Johnny Garton, Frank Smith, I appreciate your time as always. Thanks for being to Boxing Social.
I wish I was Johnny Garton's weight. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, Frank. Thanks.